Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. To those all who have joined today. In this today digital world, everyone is talking about the online payments. Whatever we buy, we pay the money online. But have you ever thought that when we pay the money online, how does the money go through? And what could be wrong use of the money? And that's where the anti-money laundering comes into the picture. A lot of nuances, a lot of facts, a lot of myths around AML and sanctions we have heard or we have not heard. We are trying to understand everything today with Ritu. Ritu works at PayGlocal and she has worked with a lot of organizations earlier in the role of anti-money laundering and sanctions around the compliances. So let's welcome Ritu and understand everything, whatever she has to share with us.
You,
Hi
Manoj.
Ritu, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, Ritu, thank you so much for taking out time to share the knowledge with us. And why I'm very much excited today that I have been paying money online to buy things for like more than a decade now. And every time, still my father, when I tell him that let's buy something online, he's like, no, no, this money can go to some wrong person. Correct. Still, we are not clear that what money is right and what money payment is wrong. So if you can, we can start from the very, very basics, like what exactly is the anti-money laundering? What is the money laundering? What is right money? What is bad money?
Okay. So, since we are talking about anti-money laundering, and I have been associated with this particular stream since 2007 when I joined a private sector bank in India. Since then, I'm associated with the field. So, to explain anti-money laundering in a very, very basic terminology, there are three stages, which is placement, layering, and integration. What happens in this is someone who has a source of illegal money is trying to convert that illegal money into legal money. Now, how that happens by means of these three stages is that a person having illegal money with them places that money in various ways into the financial ecosystem. So it is possible that there is a customer merchant collusion and they are trying to buy a product where the money reaches a merchant by means of settlement, or they are trying to do cash deposits in friends and families accounts where that they are trying to keep the thresholds just below the regulatory limits, or they are trying to just kind of route money via different accounts in different locations across geographies. So these are various way how illegal money can be placed in the financial ecosystem, so that it remains unidentified and the placement is not noticed as a one placement happening in the financial ecosystem. That is why it is called as placement. When we talk about layering, that money is routed through multiple channels within the financial ecosystem, like transfer from one bank account for purchase of multiple services or for credits and mutual funds, etc. So that the source of placement itself is not traceable, right? So that is what it is termed as layering, that you layer the money which has just gotten into the financial ecosystem so much that it is difficult to trace that where it was placed. And then comes the final stage, which is the most interesting stage, where you integrate that money to buy a legit product. Like I can integrate that money from different sources, buy a car, buy a house, which becomes a legit purchase on books, on papers, right? If I'm purchasing a car, it is a legit purchase. I'm providing money from my bank account by gathering that money from different sources where I had kind of earlier placed that money. So that's how an illegal money gets converted into legal money and comes into the financial ecosystem, or becomes an asset to that individual, per se. Yeah.
Got it, got it. So one question that came to my mind where you're talking about, placing the order and everything. Let's talk about the small ticket size. Now we know all the online platforms that we have in India, could be Amazon or could be Myntra or anything. I know a lot of friends, or eventually in India, the COD is the big thing. People still do the cash on delivery. So do you know, or if you can share more insights on that, that do the platforms like Amazon and everything, they also flag, okay, this account has been always doing the COD and big ticket items, like for example buying a phone of 1 lakh rupees and doing the COD. I really do not know like what is the limit of Amazon of doing the COD, but or might be you can do like transaction of 5,000 rupees and do it 20 times, still it is 1 lakh rupees. Do you think this kind of platforms also flag these accounts where you can buy a product and eventually pay in cash, because when you pay in cash, this money is not getting traced.
So I think an interesting question that how cash can enter the financial ecosystem, and we all know that cash is the biggest source of illegal money where
Yeah.
people try and keep it at their homes. Now that can be utilized in ways like buying on e-com platforms. E-com platforms definitely have their in-house AML and sanction teams where they work a lot on tracking and tracing such kind of transactions where they feel that a customer is trying to use their platform to
Hmm.
move illegal money or to place illegal money via their ecosystem. In fact, I was working with one of the ecom platform in the payments team and have designed AML solution and KYC solution for them as well. And when we are talking about financial institutions, to say so, right? Banks,
Hmm.
NBFCs, gateway payment aggregators, right? They at least onboard you so they know your bit about KYC. They know you as a customer. They know you as a merchant. But when we are talking about e-com platform, anyone can go and purchase from the
Yeah.
platform. So there is no background available with those e-com platforms that, okay, if this customer is trying to buy, say for example, you were talking about is trying to buy an iPhone. Is he really financially capable to buy an iPhone, right? That information is not available with e-com platforms, which is available otherwise with other financial institutions because they
Yes.
do onboard do certain checks. They have
Hmm.
certain financial data of the customer. But in spite of that, these e-com platforms are trying really hard to have solutions around tracing money laundering. They have a cap on cash collection.
Hmm.
And the interesting use cases in these scenarios are because they onboard agents also, right? So every delivery executive which comes on the door is not an employee of Amazon. They are at times agents as well. So there are stories around where agent and customer collude with each other to move cash in the ecosystem, right? You keep on buying on the platform and give me cash, I'll go and deposit. And these agents are well aware of the limits imposed by the e-com platforms
Hmm.
and how much they can collect, where they need to deposit so that it is not getting trashed. So if this is kind of collusion is happening with the customer and the agents, it is much more riskier. But again, that's where the due diligence of agents which you are onboarding becomes very crucial and critical. In addition to that, if an agent is collecting a lot of cash from a certain set of customers,
Hmm.
those checks you need to build in your system to ensure that your system is not getting utilized for moving illegal money.
Hmm.
So there are checks at e-com platform level. Definitely, there are a lot of due diligence which happens that if there are a lot of returns happening, earlier the payment was made in digital currency, but now the refunds are being asked in a different source account. So those are different kind of checks which even e-commerce platforms are trying to build to curb money laundering via their channels.
Got it, got it, got it. Now, Ritu, the one more interesting turn into this. So we talked about the bigger players, banks and the financial institution. They've got all the checks. Like even if you go to withdraw money, they won't allow you certain limit. Even if you try to deposit money, they'll ask you a lot of questions. Then we talk about the e-commerce players. Like they also have the check. Now comes the most easy way where I can deposit the money is the retail counter. So eventually, even be it in Bangalore, be it in Surat, or be it in any city, if you go to any big showroom and if you're trying to buy very good stuff and eventually try to pay the money in cash, either you buy clothes or you buy the luxury item. I have not seen a single instance, any clothes store or any store telling me no, that I don't take the cash. How is that getting handled? How the stores are managing so much of cash? Like how can, for example, if you're telling me the banks are not taking cash, this e-commerce guys are not taking, how the stores are managing so much of cash? Like do they have the different rules than the normal ecosystem?
See, the stores are primarily not regulated by such kind of regulation, except stores like jewelry stores. So, gold and all are now fairly regulated. They have to report to FIU India of large cash value transactions, etc. But if you're talking
Yeah.
about like normal clothing stores or any grocery shops, if you are doing a kind of a digital goods if we are purchasing from the store and paying cash, there are no checks and balances. Having said that, the critical stores, like if you are going and buying gold from a jewelry shop, they are liable to report it to FIU India that so much of cash transaction has happened. You might have seen that if you go beyond K, they ask for a PAN card. They ask for certain details for you to make a cash payment. So all those checks are coming at a level where it can be imposed. FIU is also monitoring such kind of transactions very closely because it has come under the purview of reporting requirements. Having said that, the stores like jewelry, digital purchases, even high ticket value items can be purchased using cash, and there is no check at the moment around.
Got it, got it. So I think still the retail counters are away from this whole purview of money laundering, but I think the checks are getting implemented there as well.
True.
Yeah, yeah. Now,
And
so yeah,
would just like to add over there with this digital payment coming into India, right? It's not just debit card and credit card. I think India has kind of skipped one digital era of credit card and has moved to the real-time payment in terms of UPI, which has made
yeah,
our lives easier. And as
yeah,
a merchant also, for them it is more convenient because they are saving a lot of time in calculating the cash,
yeah.
depositing the cash in bank accounts, managing and handling that cash. So the entire cost associated with cash handling goes down like substantially if they get digital payments. So even smaller merchants, if you go to
Yeah.
smaller grocery shops and all, they prefer digital payment rather than cash. So I think UPI has changed a bit of the cash movement which is happening in India has kind of now gone down substantially because of the UPI payments which are emerging now.
Got it, got it, got it. Yeah, I think because UPI probably even like in any tier two city, I go to the smallest store, forget the store, the street side vendors. They do not even have the store or the real license, but they have this UPI QR code put on their store or the moving cart where you can just make the payment. Yes, I think UPI has changed a lot the way we make digital payments. Now, Ritu, we talk about when we talk about the money laundering, there are two parts of money laundering. One we just talked about, people are just using cash or using this money to make entry into the ecosystem just to avoid the taxes. That's the one way. But whatever little I know about the money laundering, that's not the real use case of money laundering just to find out who's paying the less taxes. The real use case of the money laundering is to really find the dirty money that is the money being used to support the wrong causes. So we talked about the money where people have money in the terms of cash that they must have got from different sources by avoiding the taxes, and now they're using it to buy the luxuries. But what about the second side? Like people got the money from the different sources, from whatever, and now they are using it to fund to the wrong reason. How does that how does that ecosystem, like is it very similar to this one, or there are different checks, different rules and regulation for that ecosystem?
So, yeah, like you rightly mentioned, there is other side of the story as well. This is what we were trying to cover. What happens in the financial ecosystem and how that illegal money gets converted into legal money, right? But how a money can be utilized for money laundering, terrorist financing, proliferation financing. That is the other side of the story. And I would just like to kind of give you an example, which is a real life example has happened in JNK, where about a terrorist organization kind of procured about 100,000 SIM cards, and they gave it to multiple people over there, and they credited small amounts like 500,000, 2,000, 5,000 in their wallets, right? Which is very difficult to trace. So they had a SIM card, an account can be linked to that SIM card. They deposited the money, which can be utilized by them for different purchases. The purpose was that you're getting this amount and you contribute in the stone pelting. When we say that you come out and do stone pelting, and they were kind of given these as rewards that you do it for X number of hours and you will get a multiple of 100 for that much period of time. So this is also a mechanism to fund for terrorist related activities or other proliferation financing related activities. Because the objective of money laundering is to hide money for the purpose for which it is getting used. And hence, where this all comes together is how we can trace that money if it is moving via financial ecosystem. Again, like I said, cash movement cannot be traced. Had these stone pelters were given cash, you may never know that a cash got kind of deposited in their or given to them, like handed over to them for their day-to-day functions or their grocery purchase, etc. But there now even the terrorist or other organizations are coming up with innovative ways to give them money so that it becomes non-traceable in nature. They don't have to handle cash to a larger extent, like small value accounts, wallet kind of accounts. These are again primary sources to move money for example, for smaller use cases, right? This we talked about like a very, very small use case. This is also very prevalent in larger ecosystem. For example, the trade-based money laundering, right? Which is very complicated money laundering process in itself, where say suppose I'm exporting a good, but my shipment and invoices they don't match, or the goods are never delivered, never exported out of India, but money got in. So that can also happen in case of imports, right? No goods came to India, but a payment was made outside India. So it is all applicable for payments and payouts. For example, like I'm saying that I'm shipping, for example, diamonds, right? But in reality, those are crystals which are not diamonds. So you'll raise an invoice for diamonds. So the money which will come to India will be an equivalent for the price of diamond, but you are actually selling a normal glass crystal which is worth nothing. So that those are multiple ways to move money from one country to another, to fund to people to from whom you want to get the work done. And these are quite prevalent in the terrorist financing and money laundering and proliferation financing kind of group activists.
I think one thing got my attention here. Coming from Surat, diamonds are the big thing here. Even in my circle, I have a good at 8 to 10 friends, those who are into the trading of diamonds. And when I'm hearing you, it seems like diamond is the most easy way to get this done, because even like I'm from Surat, having so many friends, even I can't judge if it's a real diamond.
Yes.
So to get this done via diamonds, and I'm pretty sure there would be a lot of other things in the other areas of India, like some could be spices, some could be clothes, Kanjivaram sari, and I know what not. So are you saying, Ritu, there is no way to trace it? Like even if I'm just using the underlying goods with not a real price, like no one can guess, and just move the money, like isn't it like given away, like anyone can do it?
See, it is not exactly like that. So when I am exporting something, right, I will be registered with the financial institution to collect money.
Yeah.
Now it is also the responsibility of the financial institution that if my merchant is claiming to be exporting diamonds, are they really exporting diamonds? That is what know your business, know your customer is all about. That is what banks do to an extent, right? Like you were saying that there is in common people cannot identify whether it is diamond or not.
Yeah.
Like you and I also cannot identify whether it is an actual Kanjivaram sari or not, right? It can be
Yeah.
a sari worth a lakh or it can be of 1,000, 2,000 rupees.
Yes.
It is very difficult to get identify the authenticity of a product which is being sold. Also, the checks are not 100% checks, right? If I'm saying that I'm exporting, say, 100 Kanjivaram saris, what if those are only 50? But I'm getting paid for 100, not for 50. But then it becomes the responsibility of the financial institution who is onboarding them for them to collect money from for export of goods. And that's when it is very crucial when we are dealing with such kind of goods where it is like diamonds, gold, jewelry, which is high risk, which is in industry norms, it is being termed as high risk because there is lot of margin, first of all. And these kind of products require very special understanding of the product category to do the business with, and hence these are kind of always termed as precious metals, diamonds. All these are very high risk category products where only financial institutions also have very high due diligence. They can deploy a lot of resources and can onboard them and can work with them. Like there is a lot of documentation also which you ask from your
Yeah.
that okay, you are a certified diamond merchant. What kind of checks and balances do you do on your diamonds? So then there is a very rigorous process to enable transactions for such merchants.
Now, Ritu, step two. Okay, now I did something wrong. I tried to import or export something wrong and got the money. So, for example, someone sitting in a wrong country, I don't want to take any name. Now he got the money into his bank account. Like it, so as far as I understand the ecosystem, let's say of India or of Singapore or US, like when you try to withdraw, there is certain limits from the ATMs or from the teller machine. Now that money has reached to that particular country where it had to reach, even that country would have certain limits of withdrawing the cash. Then what happens at that side? Like do they just, because now money has just reached to that country, still it cannot be used outside because you cannot use the ATM card to buy the weapons. There has to be some other way of buying the wrong weapons or buying drugs or whatsoever. So what happens to the other side of the once the money reaches there, because still is the half the story, the money has just reached digitally into the bank account. Now what?
See, again, there are ways to use that money. That person who is actually bringing in the money, in most of the scenarios, may not be the actual dealer of the further purchases, right? Be it drugs, weapons, or illegal activities. The money gets again routed via different channels within the ecosystem to multiple people, multiple resources, so that either they can utilize that funds for the respective activities. It is not just illegal to legal where layering is important. It is equally important from legal to illegal as well for money launderers to kind of make things happen via financial ecosystem.
Got it. So if I summarize the whole thing now, whatever we talked about, small cash which cannot be traced goes via different accounts to a big account. Now this big account can be a trader or could be an exporter, could be importer, could be registered, anything. He does some trade, sends the money to the other side again, because this looks like a very legal transaction, because something has been sent, something has been bought. The money reaches on the other side. Again, on the other side, this goes into small chunks and probably gathered it somewhere in the terms of cash or whatsoever. And then eventually it is used to do the illegal things or to buy the weapons or to buy the drugs. So whatever started here from the small chunk gets collected in a bigger chunk there. And this is what the whole, when we say the bad money or the dirty money, the laundering looks like.
Yes, not always associated with export. Like export is just an
Yeah,
example. It
just
can
one. Yeah,
happen in the
yeah.
same country as well via routing money through different channels. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. The legal way of routing could be anything. One is export, one other could be by doing some trading, by doing some online transaction or whatsoever.
Yes.
That is the only legal part. But before that and after that, because this is getting traced between the countries, because this is where the currency exchange happen. So this is getting traced. This is the only part in the bigger ecosystem that looks legal, and everything else is like no one knows like what's happening, and that's the reason this whole money laundering and that's where the banks, financial institution, they try to do the checks on the even the smaller sides. Like if anything looks wishy, if anything looks wrong, got it. Now, Ritu, yes, please, you're saying something.
So basically, just to add to what you just stated, right? Even this layering part, which happens to hide the source of money and the destination of money, financial institutions are coming up with the algorithms that how that money movement is happening, what is the frequency of that money movement, how much is the credit, how much are the debits, so that they can draw some inferences from such transactions to arrive at least suspicion, which can further lead to due diligence at their end or regulate, or they can reach out to FIU and submit a suspicion, because FIU in any country has a larger picture because each and every RE report to them, and then they can trace that okay, across different institutions, this is how the money movement for this customer looks like, right? I may have a bank account with three banks. Every bank will not have visibility on how this customer is moving in two other banks. Customer is moving funds, right? I may have a payment aggregator account somewhere else. I may have a mutual fund account with some institution. But this overall visibility is there with FIU to analyze the patterns of that customer. where they can better understand that how money is getting moved across the ecosystem.
Got it. Got it. Now you tell me one thing, Ritu, because you talked about like there are different ways of watching it, of tracing that what's happening. Now, if I talk about certain year back, because you also said like not everything is getting traced, because the transactions are so small, so it was not possible to trace everything. Now, with this, we're talking about this new whole technology, the artificial intelligence that's coming into the picture. A lot of banks, a lot of financial institutions have already started adopting this. Do you think that this will help now? Like now the banks do not need to just do some sample checks. Now they can check everything. So, do you think AI will make things more simpler for the financial institution to trace this whole thing and eventually make money laundering more difficult? Or is it still the same, or people will find some new ways?
See, I think I will answer that in two broad aspects. AI has definitely kind of helped the ecosystem a lot in terms of analyzing the data. So when we talk about huge chunk of data which rests with financial institution, like most of us are now doing digital transactions. And earlier, what used to happen, we used to have a set rules which used to run on transactions, and analysts used to work on those transactions, try to identify patterns, etc. Now with the use of AI, which can run 24 cross 7 for you, what we are getting is that very good pictorial representation, very good analytic based charts, the difference in pattern, if there is a sudden change in pattern which is happening, that has resulted into this scalability which now exists in, like, with the adoption of digital payments. The AI is able to give us more accurate data, more consolidated data for us to take better decisions. So
Okay.
we are now more data rich in that way, where the decision making for us can become easier by use of AI. The
Got
second
it.
part is definitely the fraudsters are also now using AI. They do understand what are the thresholds at banks level, so I need to transact below that. They do understand what kind of patterns get caught, and hence they try to avoid those patterns. So even they are working with the help of AI to find ways to kind of bypass the ecosystem. At the same time, even financial institutions are kind of using AI to catch hold of them. So it's
Got
kind
it.
of always a catch 22 situation, which exists between. It is similar to a police and thief.
Yeah, it's just like the system gets smarter, the thief gets more smarter. Got it. So now Ritu, we have been talking about money laundering and anti-money laundering, and we also talked about the terrorist financing that happens because of the money gets laundered. Now let's talk about the other part of the money laundering, which also a lot of people do not understand to the core. That's the sanctions. Like there are a lot of countries which are known for the notorious activities, and there are sanctions on it. If you can explain in very easy language, like what is sanction, how they are imposed, and if once they are imposed, because again, I do not know of any country like once imposed and then removed, but if you know of any, if you can share.
Yeah. So, Manoj, to put sanctions in a very layman language, a country or a group of countries come together to a decision that either they want to stop activities associated with any particular country, or they want to stop an entity which exists in that country. So, there will be no business with that entity, or they put sanctions on individuals. What that means really is an individual whom you cannot do business with, an entity whom you should not do business with, or a country whom you should not do business with, right? Now, this is like a very, very layman kind of language. Sanctions can be of different types. Like I said, country. It could be trade-based sanctions that we don't want to do any trade with XYZ country, or it can be mutual also, two countries saying that we don't want to trade with each other. And it can be very generic also, that this is the particular country where there has been a global consensus that they don't want to kind of have any trade relationships or any kind of relationships with, right? And this is always a public information which is available in public domain. And this is primarily for the purpose of, based on analysis, that either an individual or entity or a country is supporting more of illegal activities, and hence the ecosystem is trying to curb or put checks and balances around that illegal activities spreading across. So that is the overall objective of putting sanctions. There are multiple global bodies which work on analysis or kind of publishing the list that who has put sanctions on whom. So OFAC, UNSC, these are all global list which you can see that they will have a list of sanctioned countries, sanctioned entities, sanctioned individuals, right? Like in individual scenario, we don't want to do business with, for example, Osama bin Laden. No one across the world would like to do that. As a financial institution, the obligation is you screen whoever comes to you against that negative list database and do not onboard them on your platform. So that is how the sanctions work across the financial ecosystem.
Got it. I think till today I knew about the sanctions could be on the country. Knowing about the entity again, not very surprising, but I think getting sanction on an individual, I think that's a very updated news for me as well. Like, but again, the example you took, now I understand. Okay, there's a sanction could be on the individual as well, because if a person like Osama, even if he opens a bank account in UK or like in any other country, even in that case, there should not be any transaction allowed. But Ritu, okay, how does a like isn't the sanction on an individual become more complicated? Because when you say a country or economy, like there will be no drop down of that country itself when you try to transact digitally. But if you talk about individual, that can become very complicated. How? Because there can be so many people like those who have been into the wrongdoings. How does that work? If you can just share a bit more onto the individual part. Entity still I understand because they will have some company registrations, some GST, some tax numbers, something, but how do the individual part work?
Okay, so how does it actually work is if a country identifies an individual to be put into a sanction list, it gets discussed in these kind of committees, be it in the OFAC list or UNSC list or in FATF plenary committee meetings, the individual meetings. So these discussions happen across the platform. And if you look at the data set associated with these individuals, right, they own kind of 20, 30 passports to travel across. They have multiple date of births, identity documents, addresses. Everything gets consolidated and captured in that list once it is finalized that we want to put sanction on that individual. And that becomes part of what we in general terms calls as either the sanction list or the negative list.
So, Ritu, is the sanction list being shared between the countries, or like it is India specific or the US specific? So, for example, if someone is wrong for India, like if you identify terrorists, he could be probably wrong for US also. He could be probably on the wanted list for another country also. So, is the sanction list being shared across the economies, or it is like country specific?
So basically, how it works is that every country can have their own sanction list that we won't allow this individual to do business in our country. But there are more globally accepted sanction lists published by entities like OFAC, UNSC, which is acceptable across different countries. Even when in India we onboard, say, customers or entities, we do screen against OFAC and UNSC.
So, there is a global list and there is a country specific list on
There
the.
will always be country specific list which countries want to protect themselves with, but there are globally accepted list available which exists, which has kind of entity and individuals across different jurisdictions.
Got it. Latest name on the list, if you just know, like if someone has been recently put on the sanction list, any person or any company, like whatever you know.
Like US has imposed sanctions on Russia, right? It is a well-known fact, and
Yeah.
you will find in Indian list, you will find Nirav Modi's name. So all these names keep on appearing in like country specific list and global list, country to country sanctions. So such kind of list keeps on getting updated very frequently.
So once the name is added to the list of sanction, does it get ever removed, or it's like once you are done, you are done?
See, country level sanctions do get removed. So FATF, Financial Action Task Force, which is a global industry body managing terrorist financing and proliferation financing and money laundering, they do conduct kind of annual, like periodic reviews on different countries. So they do review countries from these standards perspectives, which they have prescribed. There are 40 recommendations and 40 rules and 9 recommendations available across. So if they have put specific countries in negative, like blacklist, none of the countries actually want to do business with such countries. There is another list which they publish is gray list, which is there are quite a few lapses in the ML and TF policies in those countries, which requires a revamp. But they keep on following up with such countries. There are regular follow-ups which has to happen. But then countries can take their own individual calls that, okay, do I really want to do business with this country or not? Like, for example, Nepal has been recently added to the grey list by FATF. Now,
Which one? Sorry?
Nepal has been recently
Nepal.
added to the grey list.
Red list.
Can can we stop doing business with them? Can we stop doing trades with them? It is the call at country level which we take a conscious decision after analyzing things, after putting more checks and balances, right? Even as financial institutions, if we are kind of in the space of, for example, a trade is happening from Nepal, right? If we know that this is a transaction from Nepal, we'll do more enhanced due diligence on such transactions. If there is money which is coming from Nepal in the form of remittance, we'll be more cautious about this. So FATF is a generic body which controls most of MLTF and PF related activities across the countries.
Got it, Ritu. But still, my original question, like, once the name get added, does it get removed or it's always there?
It can get removed. So in FATF list, you do move out of gray list. You do move out of blacklist if you perform or if you are able to demonstrate those checks and balances, which is like the basic criteria for from FATF.
And even the individuals can get removed. Like, for example, if certain individual gets into the list of sanctions, can he do something right to get removed or it's gone?
Not that I am aware of any such scenarios, like any such names. Maybe if they try to kind of convince the ecosystem by saying that now I have become clean, I have cleared all my previous loans and everything. This is this is the penalty which I am ready to pay. They may get, but I'm not aware of any such names.
Got it. Got it. Ritu, let me ask you one quantitative question only if you can answer. Let's say in last financial year or probably the year ending in December or the financial year ending in March, is there any public data that how much money would have gone into any money laundering from India?
It's in billions.
Is it? Even after doing so much? So, okay.
Across
Wait,
geographies, it is in billions.
okay. So one thing. Has it reduced over the years or it is increased over the years? Because now we are talking of so much about technology that we have imposed this is a check, we're talking about artificial intelligence, all this technology, has it reduced over the years or has it increased over the years?
No, but we're also increasing in terms of globalization, right? So there is more business that's happening across countries. There are more activities also happening across countries, within countries, right? Which are, this is definitely increased over years, not reduced. Yeah.
I always thought that we are getting cleaner, but we are getting dirtier. Just one last thing, if you want to share before we wrap it up, like what is that one piece of advice you would like to give to someone who's just starting the career in the field of AML and sanctions?
Yeah, Manoj. I just want to say that I happened to be in this field by accident. It was that crisis time when there were not so many jobs in the market. As a graduate of an engineering and an MBA, got into a bank, and that's where I landed up in the compliance department. But since then, I would say that I have kind of started liking this, and it has compliance has become more of a passion for me than just working in this domain. The reason being, if you go into the nitty-gritties of it, right, what we were discussing, that how best a financial institution can put checks and balances and at the same time help business run in the right way. These are two critical things to be balanced in this domain. And I always keep on telling this to all the stakeholders within the organization outside as well. In this domain, everyone is your stakeholder, be it the regulator, be it your business person, be it technology or product, right? You have to handhold them and say that you're there, give them the comfort that what we are trying to do is for the betterment of everyone. It's to enhance the organization as such, the ecosystem, so that there is no incorrect way of things happening. And if you look at the analysis of AML, and if you go really deep into the analysis part, the analytics part, it's really interesting. Like where the money is moving, what they are doing, how they are trying to curb the overall movement of money. It's very interesting, and you will find different patterns in every use case. Every day is a new learning. So, to all freshers who want to be in this domain, my only suggestion is just stick to it for a while and enjoy what you are doing. Don't ever consider this as something which is like in corporate world we say this is a cost center, right? In my mind, that is never a cost center, because if you're non-compliant, just consider the cost of non-compliance which may come on you, right? And we have seen billions of fines, like amount of
Yes,
being imposed on different financial institutions. So it is a very, very interesting domain to be part of, and a very good domain where people can learn across the verticals. Like if you are enabling business, you need to know that what is happening in that business, first of all, to built around those compliances, right? You understand the technology so that you can guide the tech teams that, okay, this is how you want to create a product, right? This is how
yeah,
all the technology should support. This is how your ops team should support. This is how the product should look like. So that's where you get a broader perspective of multiple things while working in this domain.
got it, Ritu. So I just want to add one more thing, like whatever you see in the Tom Cruise action movies when they're talking about, looting the bank or whatsoever, that comes into the real scenario when you're in the field of money laundering and compliances. So all the freshers, like for those who are looking at it from the career perspective, being there like almost again like in close to 2 decades, it's not boring. It's very interesting. It's just a way of looking at it. So thank you so much, Ritu. Thanks for giving us this masterclass on anti-money laundering and sanctions. I'm pretty sure that this was not enough. Probably we'll come back to you in couple of months to have the part two of this. And thanks for spending the Saturday morning with us.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you for having me. It was really nice interacting with you and the audience. Thank you.